Bum ba ba bum 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 bam. That's right, folks. It's the final day of the work week, which of course means it's 2D6 Friday. Multiple shades of orange going on the screen here. You can see this t-shirt is a slightly different shade to the background. A little bit of diversity there. So, first things first. The chat has been going nuts for the last couple of hours. So let's see who's in there on the fabled active users list, shall we, before we delve into any of our topics for the evening. We've got Bazooka J Rambo, Gloom Dreddy Gaming, Mickey Genver, Mini Warrior, Retropia TV, Newbie, Was Gob, and I think I saw a couple of other people in there earlier who were probably just lurking, or maybe they fell asleep waiting for the show to start, because it was quite insane earlier on. I left the chat open and then I came back to something to do with dipping in orange juice and chocolate Lego, and it's all very strange in there. So if you're not watching this live and you don't get to experience the wonderful, bizarre chat that I'm looking at right now, then you should be pitied. Of course, it would be possible for me to use some kind of screen sharing program and put this on the screen permanently, the chat in the corner, but then I know that people would be able to take advantage of that then. And I would probably have to go back and edit the video at the end and then re-upload it to remove any, let's just say, inappropriate comments, shall we? Because you know what the internet's like. As soon as someone has the power to have their words up there on the screen, I'm sure some people won't be able to deal with that. I can think of one or two suspects who maybe wouldn't be able to deal with that rush of power. So, as people continue chatting away, the main topic for this evening is going to be very controversial. Free stuff and channel sponsorships and so on. Because obviously, being an A-list Wargaming YouTube celebrity, this is something I've had a lot of experience in dealing with and a lot of experience witnessing from others. And I think I'm well placed to discuss the topic in reasonable detail. And then there's some other things we're going to go into later as well, looking at some new stuff, particularly on GW's website. But first of all, how is everyone tonight? Because everyone's just talking about Del Monte. Well, you know what the man from Del Monte says. Yes, I can see the orange link there. Oh, there's Mirkwood Trosty 99. So it's starting to fill up in there. So let's get this kicked off, this topic, shall we? So my first exposure to free stuff and what kind of free stuff have I had over the years as a result of this channel? Well, first of all, we should probably go back to my previous YouTube channel, which was reviewing PC games. Now, I didn't actually get any games free from any kind of manufacturers or game developers or anything, but I did get a gift of a couple of games from random fans. So that was the first real thing, but that's not really what this is about. This is more about free stuff for promotional purposes. So anything that was purely a gift, because I've had quite a few of those as well as a result of this channel, I'm going to leave those out. So the first thing, possibly the first free thing I had, it may have been a Drop Zone Commander set, and that wasn't in any way solicited by me. I think Hawk Wargames were just being, considering they're hawks, they were quite eagle-eyed on the community, looking for potential prey for them to send their new starter box out, because they were really making a big push to help their game grow as fast as possible. And I was one of the recipients of an email that said, hey, would you like to review this product? And I wasn't even doing product reviews at the time, so I'm not sure how they got onto me. They must have just liked my video style, or they just looked at the number and thought, well, he's got 500 subscribers, or however many was at that time, so maybe we should just send one to him. I don't know, at least 3 other people I can think of definitely got one from them. So that was the first thing. And it took me quite a few months to actually get the video on it up, which I felt quite bad about at the time. And I did email them apologizing that it took so long, because I was having some camera issues at the time. I think it was around the time I bought a new camera, but it wasn't very good and the sound was pretty awful. And I think I waited until I had that somewhat resolved until I actually put a video up, because I wanted it to be decent quality. Because there are people out there, obviously, that if they get something free, they kind of phone it in. If they have to do something on it. just to make it look as though they care and that they want to actually promote the product a little bit. So they'll do like the bare minimum, but I wasn't really interested in doing that. If I'm going to unbox anything, then it's always going to have either a slight twist on it to make it unique, or it's going to be fairly in-depth. And oh, Mickey Genva is very impressed by my luxuriant hair, apparently. Yeah, my hair is quite luxurious. It is kind of eye obstructing at times, especially during the night. If I'm sleeping on a particular side, then it can kind of sway across my eyes, which isn't that big of a deal when I've got them closed and I'm asleep, obviously. Gaming Kid, and then a lot of twos, apparently subbed just for free stuff. Well, there's nothing free on this channel apart from the grade A entertainment. Ching! So, where was I? That Drop Zone Commander starter set. I actually got 2 of those free, although technically one of them wasn't for promotional purposes. I actually won one from a contest from another YouTube channel, and that was quite funny. That I ended up with just 2 starter boxes in a very short period of time. So, after that, I definitely got some Relics stuff for free, because, again, they were pushing that out into the community as well. And the group of, there's 4 factions, or there was 4 factions at the time, and there were the 4 of us. And I think Spud was like the hub. It was given to him, and he was told, just divide this up among 3 other people who, you know, would like to play it. So I was one of them, and the faction I got just happened to have the orange dice, of course, which were the Newham. And I think I did quite a lot with that Relics stuff. And I have purchased a fair amount of Relics products as well over the couple of years since then. I did get a lot of free Orknar just randomly from Dreddy as well, because we were going to do all those hangout battles, which we did. But I'm not going to include that in free stuff since it wasn't from the actual company. But it's probably this split of what I've had free for Relics and what I've purchased. Probably it's about 50-50, I would say, because I did get quite a lot at the start. Maybe slightly more in the purchased section, because I did buy all my Britannons myself and quite a few of the more recent things. But I think the amount of videos I put out on Relics, at one time I was the only person doing any kind of video content at all for Relics, once all the other people in the community dried up a bit. So I think I definitely did my fair share. I think probably that's one of the situations where I definitely put in more than I got out, which I'm quite happy to do in a lot of circumstances because I enjoyed the game. So I'm not including the enjoyment of the game as something I got out, by the way. I'm just talking about the physical products. And then what I put back in would have been the exposure to those physical products. So enjoyment of the products is a big thing, which a lot of people that get free products don't really get to enjoy them that much, because some of them get bombarded with so much free stuff, they really just have to fire out a video exposing it, and then that's it. It just gets kind of slid off to the side in a drawer or something. And I didn't have wanted to get into that position. There have been 1 or 2 times where I got too much stuff, but for the most part, I keep a good handle on how much stuff I've got at any given time. I say as I look around at loads of half-empty sprues all around the room and half-painted miniatures everywhere, and some lovely terrain behind me, which I'm going to look at later, actually. And when I'm telling you what I've been up to in that section of the show. So, what else have I had? The two biggest companies probably that I've had the free stuff from, the 2 most well-known would probably be Mantic and Warlord for bolt action. But with those, I've definitely bought with my own money as much, if not more, as I've had for free, definitely. Especially Mantic. I spent a lot of money on Mantic products before I got anything off them. And it's not always just free things as well. Sometimes it's kind of reduced price products for being such a celebrity, and they know that the exposure that that's going to grant it appearing on someone's YouTube channel warrants a reduction in price. I know there are some channels where, because they're so big, that they can actually charge people like real money, dough, moolah, hard-earned cash for promoting their products. Some of the really big channels, and I know there are other channels as well that accept huge armies of painted miniatures for them to use in battle reports. And I don't know if they actually charge anything on top of that. That would seem a bit excessive. But you never know. a lot of these channels are raking in a lot of cash. I'm certainly not raking in a lot of cash. It's definitely gone up considerably since the Age of Sigmar Battle Report Patreon started, although quite a chunk of that is going on the travel expenses for actually filming those games with Mr. Remington Steele, and of course buying things to put into the battle reports as well, such as terrain and the miniatures that people are interested in seeing. So that's not exactly going to allow me to retire on a yacht. And the Google AdSense payments aren't particularly frequent on a YouTube channel of this size. I'm sure quite a few people in the comments can probably attest to that for anyone that has their own channel. There's a few of you in there who have your own videos. Most people tend to have the adverts enabled on YouTube, but we're getting slightly off topic here. So let's see, what did I do for Mantic? For the stuff I've received from them, I think I've done quite a lot of videos on Mantic products. I paid for all my own Dreadball stuff, definitely, back in the day, and I did a ton of videos on that. I even did a big How to Play series, which has quite a lot of views, and I know that inspired quite a few people to get into Dreadball. So that was definitely worth something. And then Kings of War as well. The Goblins, some of those I was given, and some of them I purchased. I'm not sure exactly where the split lies, but of course all the non-Mantic miniatures that are in the army were purchased as well. And I've done quite a lot of Kings of War battle reports and tournament reports, and I think I'm definitely helping to expose that community as well. I think quite a few people have got into Kings of War because of, not necessarily directly because of me, but maybe they'll have seen Kings of War or any other game system covered on this channel and then gone out to do more of their own research on it, looked maybe to the official Mantic YouTube channel or to some of the other bigger channels that cover these games, and then they'll have moved on and purchased products from there. Warlord, I probably haven't done as much as I would have liked for Bolt Action, just because I'm kind of in limbo with that, waiting for the second edition, and I'm not sure when that's forthcoming because they've just launched that Conflict 47 business, which is kind of their big deal at the moment. So I don't know if that's put second edition of Bolt Action on hold or not. Maybe, we'll see. But I would have liked to have done more battle reports. There are more people around here that play the likes of Kings of War than play, for example, Bolt Action, though. So it's easier. It's easier if I want to get a Kings of War game in every week, then I can easily. Bolt Action, mildly more difficult. And then 40k is quite easy if I was just interested in playing that all the time, which I'm not really. So I don't play that very often. It's only a particular group of people I play 40k with. Let's see what's going on in the comments, because it's been quite active here. We've got Retropia TV says, as far as free goes, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, people giving their models and armies to someone else. They want their army to go to a good home. Yes, there is quite a bit of that goes on in among the community, actually. I've had models just been sitting around in boxes for a long time and thought, you know what, I think someone else could make better use of that. If it's something that I've had free, then I'd be hesitant to do that unless I've already done some kind of video coverage on it and then passing it on to someone else who would maybe also expose it in that way. I've done that with a few products. If I've had them free and then didn't have a particular use for them after the video. And on the topic of videos, if you get to review something, if you have the opportunity to get something for free or at a greatly discounted rate and you're planning on reviewing it, don't just plonk it on a green cutting mat and take out the sprues and say, look at the detail on that. That is quite exquisite. And here is the rulebook. You can see that it is 487 pages, packed with gaming goodness. Good night. I hope you'll all go out and buy one of them now. Try and make it a little bit different or engaging. Anytime a product comes out, especially GW products, and let's be honest, they're not going to give people free stuff anytime soon. But, well, we say that, but they have kind of been dishing out some of their books recently. But if GW products, the day of release, multiple people are going to be opening up those boxes on their lovely green cutting mats, talking about the sprues in a really monotone voice. So if you want to stand out, that's not what you should be doing. If you've seen any of my innovative products where I put on the persona of Nordberg Dunderhacket and review products as that kind of cheesy American infomercial type character, That's what I like to do. If I got something for free, I want them to feel like I was worthy of being sent that product. I want to do something that's going to grab people's attention. I don't just want to be another one of the endless stream of really bland unboxings that are out there. And there are a lot of people that do those really bland unboxings and continue to get products, because obviously they are going to get some views, but I think it's a little bit a case of phoning it in, the people that do them like that. Of course, you've got to play to your strengths, though. If you're not a natural comedian or anything, then I suppose just do what you're good at. There are people that do really good in-depth green cutting mat unboxings. A couple of the bigger channels and a couple of the smaller ones go really, really in-depth, and they're very knowledgeable about the products. If you have knowledge and you can speak endlessly about something, then it does help a lot. Right, I'm just going to address the old comments again because they've started whizzing past here. I don't want to let them get too far behind. So the thing is, people like Newbie spamming the comments with completely unrelated issues, of course, drags it all the way down before I can see everything. Retrobia TV, Magic the Gathering booster box opening videos are a good example of that. I have seen people opening cards on YouTube, and not that I've been particularly interested in any of the cards that people were opening. It's just a bit of a fascinating thing. It's one of those YouTube phenomenons that you kind of want to find out what the big deal is. And I'm always kind of bewildered why people bother watching things like that. But I suppose if you're really into those products and you have a legitimate interest in what's coming out of those card boxes or packs, then I suppose it's fun. But usually you don't see too much charisma oozing forth from those video hosts, I would say, is the polite way of putting it. Let's see. Someone said they love Britannons. A bit of a relics comment going on there. And more Mr. Del Monte comments. I haven't seen Del Monte advertised on TV for a really long time, actually. I remember when I was younger, the man from Del Monte was always saying yes in the breaks on anything on TV. I wonder what's happened to him. I'm not even sure I've seen his products anywhere recently. I'm sure they still exist. Maybe they're just not doing as well as they once were. Mirkwood, people who spend hours watching the opening of CS:GO boxes. Or is that Counter-Strike Global Offensive? Does that stand for? I think that's right. Yeah, there are a lot of PC and console games as well where you have products that you can kind of unbox. The one that always pops up in my recommended for you videos for some ungodly reason, because I've never watched anything like that, like FIFA 16. You won't believe what crazy card I got in this box. I think there's some kind of FIFA Ultimate Team, something like that it is, where you open the packs and then you get those players in your team that you can play with online. And it's got like 18 million views and someone's shocked face in the corner and a picture of Messi on it, or Ronaldo or something. And obviously unboxings are a potential big deal, even digital products. Of course, Wargaming is a little bit more niche than that. If you're unboxing a Games Workshop product and you get out there first, you can probably get a few views on it. A lot of that's down to the thumbnail, though. If you're looking shocked, you're going to get more views. I can tell you that for nothing. Or if you've got like a bikini-clad woman on your thumbnail, that's definitely going to help as well. I know some people have definitely gone down that route. Let's see. Mickey Jenver, model boxings are good. Unboxings are good if you get to see the model's butthole. Yes, there was a rather fantastic unboxing of some piggy miniatures that Dreddy did a while ago that featured actual buttholes on the miniatures, which are possibly the only buttholes that the sculptor actually took the time to put into the model that I can think of. So that was definitely worth an unboxing. And I think that exposure, cheeky, is probably worth them sending a big pack of free pigs to Dreddy, I would say, for all the help that she's giving the pig miniature wargaming community, if there is such a thing out there. So let's move on to, I've witnessed a lot of companies, there are a lot of companies that and people reviewing products that have a kind of a good mutually beneficial relationship where neither one is taking advantage of the other. But I've seen a lot of companies that take advantage of people reviewing products, and I've seen a lot of people who review products who take advantage of the companies. And talking to a lot of people, I've heard some who when they get something free, they have kind of this, haha, I can't believe I got away with this can't believe they've actually sent me something free attitude, I think they're going into it assuming that the company isn't going to get anything out of it and that they're just going to get something free and then do a bare minimum video on it. But companies do take advantage of people as well. There are a lot of people out there that do a lot of work in the community spreading the word of certain game systems that never get anything. Maybe because they just don't have the amount of subscribers for the fat cat at the top of the company to say, yep, that person's worthy of a free box of our stuff. Or maybe they just think, well, they're already giving us all this free exposure. Why would we need to send them anything? We should be focusing our resources into sending products to people that aren't currently pushing our wares out there for people to see. We want some new avenues, some new revenue streams opening up. So from a business perspective, you can understand that. But I think they do occasionally disenfranchise people. I can think of one person in particular that I'm not going to name, who did a lot for a particular company and didn't really get anything out of it, and eventually kind of soured on them as the years went on and kind of stopped paying attention to their products after a while, which the company definitely loses out as a result of that. If it's someone that is not, they don't even have to be a focal point of the community. If they're putting any amount of eyeballs on you, then it's a positive, unless they're saying your products are terrible. And that's another thing, actually, the honesty of the reviews. Some people are definitely honest. Some people are clearly sugarcoating the truth, shall we say, or sugarcoating the facts, because there are products out there I know to be god-awful, and I've seen people giving them positive reviews. Now, that could just be a difference of opinion. They could legitimately have a great fondness for those particular products, or it could be a case of they've had them for free. They want to get more free stuff in the future, so they're going to maybe not be 100% honest. They don't have to even lie. They can just omit certain faults. It's not technically a lie if you just don't mention it at all. But the way I would look at it, if I'm sent a product that's terrible, why would I want more products from them if their products are so bad? So why would I lie about it? Generally, there is a dialogue between company and the recipient beforehand regarding whether they're actually going to send them things. I don't think they blindly just send you a pack full of stuff and say, could you review this? There is a dialogue first. And if I've been approached with a product that I don't think is particularly good, I probably just wouldn't want to review it. So that's one reason you'd see a lot of positive reviews on a channel like mine, because I just don't want stuff that I don't think is very good. And usually I would have some idea beforehand if I'm just not interested at all in it. And then, of course, if I get a product that I think is good and find it's actually not very good, then I'll probably turn around to the people and tell them, here is a fault in your product. Is this just the one I've been sent that has this fault, or is this across the board? And if they say, well, that's just the one you've been sent, would you like us to send you another one? Then I can say, no, it's all right. I'll just point out when I'm doing the video that this is just a fault with mine. This is a random thing. Don't necessarily judge their entire product line on this fault. And then Wasgob suggests there are not enough reboxings. Some of us like to see how products can be tidied away. Yes, that is the thing. There is one guy that does reboxings, I think. That person that did a kind of reboxing of Hero Quest, didn't he? That, like, this is the best thing about Hero Quest. I'm sure everyone's seen that. That kind of went viral. Trosty99, unboxings, my head hurts. Yes. The Terrain Tutor. We've got all the A-listers in here tonight. At the end of the day, it's no different to any industry. Companies always push products towards people of influence. Yes, that is certainly true. Even Oscar Award attendees get goodie bags. Yes, it's like footballers or other sports professional athletes who have millions of their particular currency in the bank, but they're still given a free pair of shoes or a free t-shirt that they're supposed to wear at a particular time, even though they clearly don't need to have it for free. They get it for free, then they probably get a sizable financial incentive as well to wear it, even though they're the people that need it the least. But of course, that's going to generate the most exposure. I think wargame companies, because it's so niche, and it's a kind of a fine line between having some exposure and having none at all. And good exposure, I would say, is consistent exposure. Because if one of the bigger channels does one really brief video, and I've seen a lot of these where some of the bigger channels are sent to products, they'll do a 2-minute really quick look at it, and then you'll never hear anything else from them again. I would suggest that is worth very little. Whereas someone who has a lot less eyeballs on them, but regularly features that content and gives you more of an in-depth look at it, and maybe inspires some passion in people for it, and they have genuine passion for it as well, I think that's more valuable probably. The train tutor has apparently had offers to drink a certain energy drink whilst doing his live shows. I'm not sure if he's joking or not, but I wouldn't be surprised either way, to be honest. I've had the offers that I've actually turned down of either free or heavily discounted stuff at the moment would be products because I don't feel I would be giving them value, or I wouldn't be able to do it justice. I'm not going to accept a starter box for a particular game if there's no one around here that I could actually play it with. I don't just want to unbox something and then that's the end of it, and then I just put it to one side and never play it. If it's something maybe that has such a low model count that I could feasibly paint them up myself and then do like hangout games, if I knew people that were interested in doing online games of it, and it was going to be quite easy. And that's very dependent on the game. There are certain games you can't really play over a hangout. If they have like a shared deck of cards that's supposed to be secret, it's difficult to do that. But there are some where it's very possible. I played quite a lot of games of Dreadball, the basic rules of Dreadball over hangouts back in the day. And then of course I had the Relics Hangout League. Relics is probably the perfect example of a game that's great for hangouts because there are no cards and it's low model count. The only difficulty is that the kind of range estimation, but word on the street is they're going to be bringing in pre-measuring to 2nd edition, so that would be a nice thing there. Let's see. But I don't think I've ever been offered something and thought that is the worst product I've ever seen in my life. There's no way I would want to review that. Most things I've been offered have been good products. I can't think of anything that was just absolutely awful. And oftentimes, unless you're a really big channel, you kind of have to chase after people anyway if you want something for free. And I've, of course, done that. And particularly things like battle mats. Because I think me exposing them is going to put quite a lot of eyeballs on those products, because my battle reports get a fair number of views, and people are always asking, where did you get that battle mat from? Because they do look cool on video when they're presented in the right way, in context, in a battle report, not just I'm going to unbox this battle mat and show it you, which is going to have a very limited appeal, I think. But when they actually see it in action, they see how terrain looks on it, it really piques their interest. It's the same with any terrain, really. When you actually see it in action, or you see it even in a big like diorama, then it definitely gets the juices flowing a lot more. So I think I can give value back to, let's say, a terrain mat company. And also, they're not going to take up a lot of space. They're not going to require me to paint them. So it's very little work preparation on my side. So I know I'm going to be able to immediately receive it and put it straight into action. It's not going to get put into the queue where I'm going to feel guilty about it being at the back of the pile because I've not got around to painting it yet. There are products like that. I was actually going to start a 40k grot tank army, purely grot tanks. So I approached a couple of companies who made kind of alternate models that would fit, and asked them if they wanted to send me anything, and I was going to do a whole video like diary building up the army. But I kind of lost interest in 40k after they sent me stuff, and also I'm kind of waiting on what the next edition of 40k is going to be like before I start a project like that. I think that'd be a good time to kick a project like that off. It would get a lot more views, I think. And I wasn't really particularly interested in doing anything with them. But rather than just leaving them sitting in the box and not talking to the companies, like I know a lot of people have done, then I sent them emails and said, would you like me to send these products back to you? Because I can't really do anything with them right now. And on both counts, they said, no, you're all right. Just hold on to them and do what you will when you've got time to get around to it. Or if you feel like you won't, just pass them on to someone else who you think would put something out on them. So I know I'll get around to them eventually, so I'm just holding on to them for the moment. And I think I'll definitely get around to that when the next edition of 40k comes out, especially if they kind of Age of Sigmarify the rules and the whole community goes absolutely nuts and people are constantly searching for like 40k rage videos. Then I'll be one of the people out there that's actually quite pleased with the changes, probably. Let's see. Apparently, well, people are talking about the terrain tutor's children chasing each other around with balloon swords now. I can see how that is totally on topic. Dreddy. Of course, Dreddy has a bit of a scheme going here because I can't ban her from the chat for being off topic because she's actually the chat mod, who you should all bow down to. Lest ye be smote, of course. Apparently Mickey Genva hasn't monetized her channel. You don't even have a channel. I don't think that counts. I don't think Mini Warrior has either, apparently. But I think monetizing your channel until you get to a certain size, it's probably not really worth it because you're going to put off more people with the adverts than you are going to generate any sizable revenue, I would say. So until you get a foothold, a decent foothold in the community, I wouldn't recommend necessarily going the monetization route. The same thing definitely applies to the likes of Patreon as well. You really have to have a serious community behind you because there are a lot of failed or really mediocre Patreon campaigns that are either currently running or were subsequently cancelled when very few people back them because either people kind of misjudge their audience or they just went in at the wrong time or they didn't really present exactly why they're running the campaign. There's a lot of mistakes people make. That could be an entire video series in itself, how to run a successful Patreon. Not that I'm necessarily the right person to be doing it, because my Patreon isn't exactly anywhere near the biggest out there. There are some notable people in the community that have hugely successful ones. But it's definitely a personal thing. It's not really a case of you can follow this formula and your Patreon will be a huge success. Just like YouTube channels, it's all personal. If someone tried to make exactly the same channel as put out the same content as one of the big channels, you're not necessarily going to get the same following they do. You have to be unique and stand out. Like I was saying about the product reviews, I don't think I've ever done what I would consider a bog standard review of anything. I've always tried to go the extra mile to either do something funny or to put a different spin on it. Like, for example, the Dead Zone unboxing that I just did and put up yesterday, the Dead Zone 2nd edition, which I was sent along with the expansion as well. I'd seen a couple of people kind of unboxing just purely the contents, so that wasn't going to be enough. So I thought, I know, I'll kind of compare it to the previous edition, value for money wise, and kind of give them a score for each category, which is something a little bit different. And that's like the tip of the iceberg for what I'm going to be doing with Dead Zone, though. I'm hoping to do a lot of content on that, battle reports and everything. And I've spent the last couple of days slaving over the polystyrene cement tube, squeezing that out quite ferociously and building some terrain, some ruined buildings here. Now, I'm going to show you. I've tried to make it look like there's been an explosion within this building that's kind of spherical. Maybe you can see it better if I turn it around to the other side. But there's two halves of this destroyed building. There's a pipe in this side here that you can see right in the middle there. That's supposed to be where an explosion took place. And then it kind of exploded out into a big sphere. I've been playing a lot of Fallout 4 recently on the PC, and that gives you a lot of look at ruined buildings. You really get to see what kind of shape things look like when an explosion goes off in the middle of them. Assuming that game is in any way authentic. But it was kind of weird approaching this, kind of having more on the top level than on the middle. And it's difficult to kind of create walkways up to that point as well and allow access for people to actually climb on the top. And I've also been constructing a less ruined building as well. I'm assuming people are interested in seeing all this, by the way. This is like a little power station where you've got little monitors and stuff there, and the power, and some fans up there with a pipe, and I can rest some kind of generator up here. Pipes coming off the back as well. And I've set it up so that the pipe from this can actually attach to the pipe on that other building as well. so that it can be one big kind of superstructure. So I've planned it out so that it would all fit on a dead zone mat as well, all together, and it can be rearranged. You may have seen with my other dead zone terrain, it's all very, very modular, because I don't like to have the same setup twice. I think I've got quite good imagination with setting all that up. But I wouldn't have suggested that Mantic send me anything dead zone terrain related if I didn't think I was actually going to do something with it. I'm going to do a video on that terrain as well, when I've got it all set up and looking nice and finished. There's still a few little bits and pieces I want to do on those particular buildings. And then maybe videos just on the basics of just setting up a board for dead zone as well. I'm planning on building a full kind of 2 foot by 2 foot area for dead zone, not using one of the actual mats, using a piece of wood, building up a bit and having a kind of basement level, if you will. So not all the way across the length of the table, because it'd be quite difficult reaching underneath right to the back, but maybe a couple of cubes in all the way around, so you could be fighting underneath, and then you can kind of go up to ground level, which is where most of the terrain is. I think that would be really interesting to get into something like that. I've already ordered the piece of wood. It remains to be seen how long it'll take for me to actually get round to doing that. But terrain tutor, who's off topic now? If that's directed at me, this is technically very on topic, because this is related to reviewing and exposing this dead zone terrain. And I'm sure at least one person who's watched that video already unboxing Dead Zone undoubtedly will have gone out and ordered hundreds of pounds or hundreds of dollars in Mantic products just on the back of my enthusiasm alone. That's how it works. Retrobia TV, awesome stuff, Andy. I've been building MDF Wild West terrain. Yeah, terrain is something I haven't really spent much time on, ever, apart from painting the kind of pre-built or easy to assemble terrain. The new GW Age of Sigmar stuff is really good, actually, and easy to paint. I haven't really invested a lot of time into building my own terrain since a really long time. The last time I even tried to really build anything on my own would have been, I must have been about 13 or something, because my friend and I built a huge board with kind of a trench in the middle. And I don't think we ever actually finished it, but we spent a long time crafting that, and we didn't get to use it as much as I would have liked. And after that, I was hesitant to spend much time on terrain at all. I know a lot of people do spend a huge amount of time on terrain, and then some people spend very little time, but it still looks very good. There are a couple of people I've seen on Facebook that just knock out terrain willy-nilly, like crazy. They can produce hundreds of pieces over a very short period of time. So in some ways, I wish I could do that. In other ways, maybe I could figure out how to do that, but it's not something I'm that passionate about, building terrain. But when it comes to Dead Zone, I definitely am, because it's rekindled that kind of Lego passion that most people had as children. So just putting all the pieces together and getting creative and building your own things out of them, using your imagination, it definitely gets the old juices flowing. So very wonderful product, which I am shamelessly promoting. I've never actually been paid to promote any products. If you don't count free stuff as payments, I haven't been given any kind of monetary incentive to promote any products at all. So I imagine that would be interesting, because like I was saying before about if I receive a terrible product, why would I want to lie about it to get more terrible products from that company? But if you're being paid, then whether the products are any good or not is probably secondary to you, because you're just going to be seeing that sweet, sweet moolah. So I would say that would call into question people's integrity if they are being paid to review products. I'm sure some of the bigger channels do take money, but I'm not sure it's that common in the wargaming community. Maybe some other people would know better than I do, because there are some really, really big channels comparatively. I think the biggest wargaming channel, presumably that's Mini Wargaming, I think they have 200 and something thousand subscribers, which is small when you compare it to the kind of 50 million that undoubtedly some of the really big YouTube people have. But for our community, it's huge. And of course, a lot of the bigger channels have their own either Patreon, or they have the kind of like Beasts of War have the backstage. I think Mini Wargaming have the vault where they get a lot of their money from as well. YouTube Newbie has posted a few $ there in the comments. Void Wraith Prime, you're obviously in the pocket of the orange industry. Well, I'm not at liberty to comment on that, unfortunately. I'm not sure if sales of oranges go up whenever my videos are on the air. That would be an interesting thing to look into. Oranges and carrots, maybe. What else is orange? Any other natural products that are orange out there? Anyone knows of any? Let me know in the comments right now. So, let's see. I've got some notes here. Okay, here's another interesting thing to touch on. Sponsorship of the whole channel or a series of videos on the channel. Accepting something for free and reviewing it or using it in videos is different from sponsorship. With sponsorship, it's kind of you're attaching yourself to that brand and that brand is attaching itself to you. It's more of a relationship than just here's some free stuff to review. It's definitely more binding, I would say. So you probably have to be more careful about sponsorships. And that's why I haven't gone too much down the sponsorship route on this channel. The Andy and Rome show has had a couple of various sponsors and there's going to be another one coming up soon. But they're all very, very carefully chosen. The one that is actually coming up, I've looked into quite a bit because it was someone I hadn't heard of before and was still ironing out the fine details on that, but you'll learn all about that probably next week. But that particular one, I'm not really going to be receiving anything for that as such, but I'm going to be receiving products that I can give away as prizes, which is one way of doing the whole sponsorship deal, because everyone loves giving stuff away. It's like the whole giving presents is more fun than receiving presents at Christmas. Giving stuff away so that the audience can have something fun rather than just the actual video creators constantly getting everything. It's fun to actually send things out to the audience as well, but obviously that costs money. But if someone wants to sponsor the channel or a show, have their logo stamped on it, maybe have a little bit at the beginning saying this show brought to you by whatever the particular agreement is, and they're going to send something out. You can run competitions, you can give things away to your subscribers. I think that's a cool way of doing it. Definitely. But if you're sponsored by someone, there is a certain responsibility that comes with that, because whatever is on your channel from then on is linked to that product, and whatever happens in that product line is linked to you. So there are some companies I would never in a million years accept any form of sponsorship from because I disagree with either their business practices or some of their product lines. I'm not really going to name any names on that front because to each their own. And there are some guests that I'd be hesitant to have on my channel if I was sponsored by product A, B, or C, because I know that person's probably going to have very negative views against certain products. So that is something you have to consider. And if someone from company X sees you doing, let's say, a live show with person Y who really hates their products and is being really vocal about that on your channel that's sponsored by them, then they're probably not going to be too pleased about that. And that could cause a bit of an interesting rocky relationship. The Terrain Tutor avoids sponsorship like the plague, apparently, had 4 serious offers, turned them all down. Yes, sponsorships are something everyone has to be very, very careful with. And I would say the bigger the channel, probably the more careful you have to be, because you've got more on the line than a small channel, definitely. Trusty99, Andy, the stripeless tiger with the mane of a lion. I'm not sure that's entirely on topic. I think he's just talking about my glorious hair again. I mean, look at the length on that now. That is some serious hair length going on there. It's got to the stage where if I'm not wearing a hat or sunglasses and it's windy, it does go straight into my eyes. So if the audience didn't love it so much, I would have had a haircut long ago, definitely. Let's see, where was I? Yes, I was on the old sponsorship malarkey. If you're tied into some kind of contract with a company and then suddenly they release a range of products that are painfully offensive to you in some way, or you just find them to be awful and you don't want to be affiliated with them anymore, but you're somehow locked in, then that's not good. There are some channels out there that have long-term advertising plans with companies. I can think of the likes of Beasts of War, where they have the adverts from the various game companies at the start of, and in the middle of their videos, where they'll be plugging a particular game system. And that's like obviously a really long-term campaign because they keep the same adverts on their video for like years. So imagine if they're locked into something and then one of those companies does something drastically controversial that really sours the whole community on them, and people boycott anyone who's affiliated with them. They can drag you down with them. So you do have to be careful. Skeleton Flower, hashtag Fabio2D6. Well, this hair does have a kind of whoosh. If I'm in the breeze and it's blowing the right way, it can look quite magnificent. Now, I think I've covered most of this topic that I wanted to touch on. I've been going around about 45 minutes, I think, so far, which is about how long I would usually expect to talk about a topic like this. There are obviously more facets of this that can be touched on, but I think for a start, I'd like to get the audience's feedback on how they feel about channels when you see that they've got sponsors, how you feel about companies that you know are sponsoring people, and whether that changes your opinion on them at all, whether you trust someone's opinion if you know they've been sent things for free, or whether you just kind of look straight over it and don't pay it any attention whatsoever. So if anyone's got anything to say on that while I'm moving on to the next topic, I'll come back to this at the end and address some of those comments. And if you're not watching this live, you can of course leave a permanent comment and I will take that into account and maybe reply to you or cover it in a future video. But let's have a look at some interesting things here. Let's get the old screen share fired up, shall we? Okay, here we go. So we have on the GW website here, Deathwatch Overkill. And now before we look at any of this, the first thing I thought of when I saw Overkill is this film poster that I made a long time ago. Steven Seagal, Christopher Walken, Morgan Freeman, Triple Dead Overkill. When a psychic janitor uncovers a triple murder before it happens, only one man is man enough to stop it. Anytime I see the word overkill, I just think of this because I'm very, very proud of this artistic creation. And what were the odds of finding a picture of Morgan Freeman doing such a psychic pose? Honestly. And he is known for playing janitors. And of course, Steven Seagal, the big action star. I think I had the plot all planned out as well. I think Christopher Walken was going to get killed 3 times. There were 3 separate assassination plots against him. And I'm pretty sure, I believe it was a time travel plot as well. He was going to be assassinated 3 times, but simultaneously. So Steven Seagal had to travel to 3 different timelines so he could stop all 3 assassination attempts at once, which is why it's called Triple Dead Overkill. And then like the 3 Steven Seagals would kind of be in the same vicinity, but all stopping separate assassinations going on at the same time, which would have led to all kinds of crazy time travel shenanigans, and it would have been nuts. But anyway, totally unrelated. I think people would have enjoyed looking at that because it's a magnificent idea, and if Hollywood aren't on the phone to me immediately after the show goes off the air, I will be very surprised. Now, Deathwatch. Overkill. So apparently, the limit of my 40k knowledge is going to be stretched here, but apparently the Deathwatch is an elite group of individuals who have been plucked, as it were, from the other Space Marine chapters. And then they're sent only on the most dangerous missions and only where the Emperor needs his most loyal servants, like the A-team of Space Marines, pretty much. So they're getting their own codex now. And their own kind of boxed game as well. Death Mask, of course, spelt like that. Because it's fancy. And it's got the Harlequins, I believe all they are, and the Deathwatch. I do like this Deathwatch Dreadnought, actually. A lot of people really like the Contemptor Dreadnought, but I like the old stumpy Dreadnoughts, and I think this is a particularly nice one. I think that plasma cannon looks very nice. Let's have a 360 on this. I do really like this. Probably not going to inspire me to actually buy it, but I do like this model a lot. I much prefer this to Contemptor Dreadnoughts, definitely. The actual Space Marine models themselves, I'm sure they're all very, very nice, but I'm kind of tired of Space Marines in general. Don't really have too much of an interest in them. Much more interested in Stormcast Eternals these days, although these are very nice, I'm sure. And let's have a look at the Harlequins in there. I'm not sure if these are actually new Harlequins or whether these were the ones that were previously available. Not sure at all. If anyone knows, then drop your knowledge into the comments. I think this definitely looks familiar. So these are probably the old ones. Or when I say old, they're actually quite new. But you know what I mean. Not new for this release, as far as I can tell. £95. And let's see, do you get £95 worth in there? I would say definitely, because that Dreadnought would be at least 30 on its own. That big bike there would probably be 30. So yeah, you're definitely getting your money's worth, as you always do with these boxes. These are definitely the best value products GW does, actual game boxes. Even the ones that are as high as £95 are still a significant saving usually. I don't know if that tells you more about their products being too highly priced or whether that tells you that these products are great value though. And now I'm going to have a look at these Deathwatch dice as well, because I've been complaining quite a bit about the GW dice recently. I'm sure you've heard me, because they have kind of inconsistency throughout the company with whether the symbol is on the 1 or the 0. In this instance, it seems as though, let's have a look. The Deathwatch icon's in place of the 1. Oh dear, you know, I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan at all of the symbol being on the 1, definitely not, unless the symbol already resembles a 1. I would much prefer the symbol to be on the 6, definitely. It looks like all the numbers are kind of uniform, and then it's just the symbol. If it comes up with any symbol, it's a 1. I want, when I roll a dice, I want the symbol to represent success. And the majority of the time in war games, you're wanting to roll high, so 6s are good. So when the symbol comes up, I want to jump in the air and go, yeah, I got a 6. Not, oh, I got a 1, but I get to look at this pretty picture. I suppose it might soften the blow of losing your Terminators on their 2+ save by rolling a big pile of Dark Angels symbols, but I'm not sure it would soften it sufficiently. So again, I think all the actual Games Workshop dice have the symbols on the 1s, and then the Forge World dice have the symbols on the 6s, which is just ridiculous as far as I'm concerned. Get some consistency across your company. Stop pretending Forge World is a separate entity. You're in the same building. Anyway, I think that was probably the most rant-like thing I've ever been on, which tells you a lot, because I'm not much of a ranter. Enhanced version, and it's digital, which of course knocks off 1 pence from the price. Now, I'm sure there must be some reason for this. Maybe legally you're not allowed to sell a digital product for the same price as a physical one. Maybe there's some kind of legal reason that they knock off 1 pence from the price. But if they are just knocking off 1 pence for those reasons, that is pretty cheeky, isn't it? Because you would think the physical copy costs a lot more to produce, and frankly is probably worth a lot more as well, in my opinion. So I would expect the digital version to be a lot less. Codex Deathwatch ebook, not enhanced version, there's a bit of a saving on that, so I'll give them the benefit of the doubt on that one. Now, let's have a look. Now, this has got a little timer symbol on it. That means it must be selling out very soon. Fortress Edition. Now, does that symbol mean it's not selling very well, so we have to make people think it's running low in stock? So we'll slap this symbol on and it'll all be gone because people go crazy because it's limited edition? Or does that legitimately mean that it's selling really, really well? Do people pay more for these fancy boxes? I can't say I ever have. I've got a couple of PC games in the slightly fancier boxes, like the collector's edition, but never kind of the big, crazy edition that comes with like medals or busts or dog tags or anything like that that you get with these things. Are they shoulder pads? I don't know. It all looks very cool, but for me, not £125 cool. That's just a personal thing, though. Someone that's maybe really into the Deathwatch. So that's all I really wanted to look at there. I don't think they've got anything particularly interesting going on this month. However, the White Dwarf introductory 12-month subscription. Now, I'm not sure. I'm sure this is. It says introductory, so I'm assuming this price is going to go up shortly. So anyone that is going to be taking up a White Dwarf subscription should probably jump on it now. But I think most people are waiting for the first issue before they make any judgment on it. I know I certainly am. I'm definitely going to get the first one because I did collect White Dwarf back in the day. I've got probably 100 or 200 issues of it in a box somewhere. I used to read them at school when I was but a lad. I started around White Dwarf 196, and 200, of course, being the first milestone issue that I got. And then I'm fairly sure I got 300 as well. But after that, I kind of stopped. It was a bit much for the White Dwarf subscription back then for a child, because it really had to be a Christmas present, and that was eating into all the other things I could get as Christmas presents. And of course, now with the internet, it's going to be difficult for this to compete, I would say, because obviously print is growing less and less in its use throughout the world, I would say. I'm interested in this, though. If it's going back to the old format and there's going to be something interesting in there that you can't get online, not just endless pictures of miniatures that you can get on Google in full HD and enlarge them yourself. So I don't think we need to look any further at that, but I think we can look at this again because I think you can all agree this is quite magnificent. And I think a couple of people have been toddling off to bed in the last few minutes, so good night to those people. But of course, there's more red hot discussion to be had here, a little bit more at least. So let's stop the old screen share there, and let's dive back into the comments and see what people were saying about that sponsorship. So Retropia TV, no problem at all because the content is still there. Newbie, if you're doing Wargaming channels, any sponsorship with Wargames is going to be fine. Yeah, but if someone is overly enthusiastic about a product and telling you to go out and buy it because they're sponsored, then I'm not sure. There are actually some situations where people were sponsored or heavily promoted a product or service which subsequently went out of business after certain people were encouraged to pile their funds into it for those products or services, which gets a little bit into shady territory. Quite a few companies went under in dubious circumstances, which I'm not going to go into too much because I don't want to get sued, frankly. But yeah, if you've attached your name to a product or service that is relatively new to the market, then there is a risk that it can just vanish. So if you're going to attach yourself to anything, make sure it's someone that's in it for the long haul and has a track record, I would say. Don't just latch onto a new product and encourage all your viewers to spend money on it only for it to disappear, I would say. Got to be careful because your words do have impact if you've got a YouTube channel. Let's see what else. Mini Warrior, sponsorship is okay as long as it doesn't create any bias. Well, I would say inherently sponsorship will always create some degree of bias. If someone is sponsoring my channel and they maybe produce a product that I think is average, then am I going to tell people, this is a little bit mediocre? I might word it a bit more positively than that. I might point out what's positive about it and then also point out a couple of things I don't like. But I may spend more time talking about the things I do like if they're sponsoring my channel. It's not necessarily anything to do with being honest or not. As I was saying earlier, there are people out there that are going to be kind of economical with the truth when it comes to products, if they're being paid or if they've had them for free. And when it comes to a full-on sponsorship and you've got this relationship with that company, it can create a serious conflict if you think something they're doing is terrible. Bazooka J. Rambo loves the Seagal poster, although he's too fat now to do much fighting. Yes, he's not in the best of shape at the moment. And he's not very popular at the moment either. He seems to have gone a bit nutso in his middle-aged years. Skeleton Flower, that movie sounds too good for Seagal. Probably. Sebastian Blau, why not Chuck Norris? He would be equally manly enough for the role, I should say, as they would have said in the 80s. Let's see. Yes, Bazooka, he is past his best now. Retropia TV, I find there are many products which I use and endorse to others, so doing the same thing with the YouTube channel seems very appropriate. Yes, if it's something that you just come across that you just happen to think is a wonderful product, like I've done many a time, there are products that I've purchased and then thought they were great, so I've done videos telling everyone how amazing they are. Sometimes that's done for views, if it's a product that I think is going to get attention, anything GW related, to be honest. If it's something I just buy that I think is really good, I'll tell people it's really good because I want to impart my knowledge and experiences on the world so people can benefit from my wisdom. And by the same token, I've also purchased products that I thought were awful or come across products that were awful, and I've told people they were awful. There was one product that I got, which was the Citadel Hobby Vice, which I didn't actually purchase. I wasn't sent it. It was someone I know worked somewhere, and it was kind of left behind by someone else in like an abandoned property or something. A Citadel Hobby Vice, believe it or not. And the person knew that I was into wargaming and hobby stuff, so gave it to me. And I found it to be maybe the worst vice that is least fit for purpose of any hobby product I've ever encountered in my life. There was one positive, which I did mention when I did a video on it. I did mention that it's good as a mobile vice because you can just attach it anywhere on the go. The downside, of course, is that you can only use it for about 3 minutes before it just pops off. So any idea of having a permanent Citadel Hobby Vice in place, and it's very, very fiddly as well. It's just a really bad product in general. If you're on the go, maybe you're a hip young go-getter working 9 to 5, and the only time you get for any hobby is on the train to work, and you need to kind of stick a vice down on the train on a table and get your pliers out and start doing some hobby work using a vice, then yes, I would definitely recommend it if you need it for those quick 3-minute on-the-go vice jobs. But anything other than that, definitely not. I think that may be the only fully negative review I've done. It's the only one I can think of, because normally I just don't buy or ask for terrible products for the most part. Even if it's something that I've acquired through being sent it by a company and it's not as good as I thought it was, if I agreed to take it in the first place, there's usually something about it that I like. So I'm going to be able to say something positive about it, as well as also the negative. Like, for example, when I was reviewing the Dead Zone box, which went up yesterday. I don't like the paper mat that you get in the new Dead Zone box. But it was pointed out to me that the new box is actually 10, 15 or 20 pounds cheaper than the previous Dead Zone box. So I wouldn't like to pay that extra 15 pounds, let's say, to get the luxurious mouse mat for Dead Zone version 2 when I already have one from version 1. So I fully understand how that is actually worthy of being a product, that paper mat, because a lot of people already have it. So you don't want to charge people extra for giving them something that they don't need because they already have it. So that's fair enough. Let's see. Anyone else have any comments on this whole sponsorship malarkey? Come on. But people are talking about limited editions, actually. Bazooka J. Rambo, the only thing of worth in the limited edition is the transfer sheet. I can honestly say I haven't applied a transfer to a miniature in over a decade. It's just not something I do. I have no interest in them whatsoever. I never think it looks that great when they are attached. Some people can do it and make them look really good, but I'm such an insane perfectionist for things being perfectly central. If it's slightly off, it's going to drive me nuts. So usually I just don't bother, because if it was driving me so nuts, I would have to then paint over it and put another one on, and I just don't want to go down that path. Things have to be perfect, and in my experience, it's very difficult to make transfers perfectly center. It's really, really fiddly, takes a long time, and not interesting to me. There are quite a lot of people that do use them though, and apparently the transfers in that new box are really good. So anyone that's into that, big time. There you go. Let's see. Newbie, if you're talking about stuff on a channel and giving an opinion on it, then really you're promoting somebody's product for free. Yes, you are. you're giving it exposure, and some people say there's no such thing as bad publicity, because if you're mentioning it, then that's more people hearing about it who maybe hadn't heard of it before, maybe weren't previously interested in it. So there is definitely some truth to that. Let's see. Mini Warrior, can you buy the mat separately? I think he's talking about Dead Zone there. I believe you probably can, yes. And also the Infestation set comes with kind of a brown version of the mouse mat style battle mat, which is very nice and different from the grey one, obviously. So that's a good value box, I think, because you get a lot of terrain in there as well. I think that's only about $29.99. You get the mat, all that terrain, and you get some of the unique exclusive rat miniatures as well. So that's nice. Let's see, anyone else with anything that needs to be mentioned before we wrap this one up? Because we've been going over an hour at the moment, which is usually where I aim for with this show. Usually ends up going about 1 hour, 20 minutes or so. Let's see. Bazooka, they are the same Harlequins as were recently released. Yes, as I thought. It looks more interesting game for 40k than Dark Vengeance set. Yeah, probably. I didn't really like the Chaos models from the old Dark Vengeance. Of course, playing Dark Angels, it was handy though. Let's see. Retrobia TV. If Rem is tempted to buy it, it's the 40k bug has bit him. Yeah, so it must be good then. Yeah, because yeah, Mr. Remington Steele on the Andy and Rem show was saying that he was interested in that product just because they look so cool. So I think it's probably going to sell well if it's appealing to people that wouldn't normally look twice at anything 40k related. Let's see, anything else that people want to mention before we go off the air? I'm just going to consult my extensive 56-page document of in-depth show running order and notes to make sure I haven't overlooked anything that I wanted to discuss and give everyone a chance to get any last-minute questions in before we go off the air. Let's see here. It doesn't look like it. So I'll sum up on the whole accepting free stuff business, and then I'll look to see if any questions came in. So if you have a YouTube channel, you think it's big enough for free stuff, you're asking for free stuff, or you're offered free stuff, put in effort to make your unboxing or your content worth the product being sent to you. Don't phone it in. Unless that's your gimmick. Like the phoning it in unboxing guy. That's the whole gimmick of the channel. Like you do just really bad jobs of unboxings, and then that would actually be quite funny. So it would probably build a bit of an audience, and people would look at the products that were on there, and it wouldn't really matter that you weren't talking too much about the product, because people would learn that it exists from you mentioning it, and it would be funny and entertaining and engaging, so they would end up actually watching the entire video, even if it was short. So yeah, if that's your whole thing, then do that. But have a gimmick at least. Make yourself different. Don't just be green cutting mat guy number 687 for that new GW release. Don't be that guy. Let's see. It doesn't look like anyone has any last minute comments or questions, so I think we're going to wrap this up now. So I'm going to fire up the old screen share again. You can see Steven Seagal in all his pre-fat glory. You can see there's a little bit starting under the chin here. So I'm going to assume this was kind of maybe mid-90s, because it was early 90s. He was quite slender, wasn't he, in kind of the Under Siege years. And then he started to get this a bit, and then the rest of him followed thereafter, which a lot of people criticized heavily when he gained that weight. And it didn't really help his stock as an action star, people felt, or as a kind of a legitimate martial arts expert. It's unfortunate because, as anyone that watches professional fighting will know, you can be fat and still be really, really good at martial arts. So it's a shame that his reputation was sullied for that reason. There are a couple of other things in his life that I'm not so disappointed his reputation was sullied for, that make a bit more sense. But there you go. And of course, the exchanging of funds, which, as I have pointed out, hasn't happened on this channel yet. I haven't accepted any money for any promotion or any sponsorships or anything. But you never know. Maybe one of these days, Games Workshop are going to send me a huge brown envelope stuffed full of cash and tell me not to cover any other game systems on my channel. And then suspiciously, all my non-GW videos overnight will become private and you'll never be able to see them ever again. And I'll never mention the names Mantic or Warlord or Hawk Wargames ever again. And it would just be a purely GW shill channel, is the term I believe they like to use. But I don't think GW are quite there yet. I don't think they're going to be offering wads of cash to people for that particular reason. I'm sure they have wads of cash, but it's not particularly flowing in my direction at the moment. And in case GW are watching, that everybody has a price. If you want to make me an offer, feel free, but it would take a few zeros on the end of that number at least. And the first number would have to be something other than a zero, certainly. Oh, the comments are flooding in now that I've said we're going off the air. People are just talking about Hobby Vice still. There's a bit of a topic going on in there after I talked about how terrible it was. And terrible unboxings are also an interesting comment. Let me know if you've seen terrible unboxings out there. Don't name who it was that did it. This is something for the permanent comments, by the way. Let me know if you've seen an awful unboxing, if you've seen a magnificent unboxing. If you know anyone out there that does really tremendous, incredible, unrivaled, unparalleled unboxings, then feel free to name those people. We want positivity going on in the comments. I don't want you bad-mouthing anyone, though. That's not what we're all about here. So, I think it's time to say good night out there, whatever you are. And I'll see you next week. Don't forget to join the Facebook group. Don't forget to like this video.